Hey guys, today we wonder, how good is Wonder Woman? Welcome to Coffee Break, I'm Chris.
I'm Thomas, and today we are talking about the movie Wonder Woman that just came out into theaters this past weekend. Me and Chris, we saw this together. What was it? Friday?
Yep.
Friday. Over at Flick's Brew House, had some good food and sat down. And we had quite the interesting discussion after the movie on what we liked and what we didn't like about it. So we thought we'd share our opinions with you guys. And I will stress these are opinions because the movie, as far as the reviews go, from the critic standpoint, it's going crazy. It's phenomenal. It's getting all these best, I don't know. It's being highly acclaimed as a wonderful movie. And so are a lot of the fans. But is it as perfect as everyone says it is? I'll let Chris take it over.
No.
He just says no. Now, okay. Chris, I want to get this right. You did not fully enjoy this movie as much as everyone else, because you didn't really go in with any expectations.
Right. I'm glad I didn't, because if I would have gone in expecting to love the movie, I probably would have been disappointed. I want to say right off the bat that Gal Gadot, Gal Gadot, she makes a great Wonder Woman, like probably the best I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
And her performance was top-notch in this one. And really, there wasn't any part of the movie that I hated. But I didn't love it either. I thought that it was just okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad I didn't go in with expectations.
No, I understand that, because I did go in with expectations for it to be a great movie, and I wasn't really disappointed. I use the term cookie cutter a lot when I kind of describe this movie. I mean, it was very straightforward, It had a good story, it had good acting, it had a twist at the end, and then a villain, and she uses something to overcome the villain, whether that be a past memory or something she's learned, and you see her grow throughout the movie. It's very cookie cutter. It's what you would expect from a superhero movie. Also, to go with that, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous looking movie, which you see time after time from anything Zack Snyder has his hands in. Even though he was more story in this, being produced, it's a beautiful looking movie. And DC never falls short as far as that goes. But what did we not like about the movie? What were some things that you weren't too much of a fan of?
I felt like that they didn't know what they wanted to do with the first part of the movie. They kind of hinted at Wonder Woman being kind of naive, and then they also hinted at her not fitting in, but they never explored that. It's like there was one moment where she's being attacked by her trainer, and she puts her bracelets together and sends out a shockwave, and everybody looks at her like she's a freak, and then she goes off and to brood, and then instead of like kind of showing that beforehand, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and because she is different from the rest of the Amazons, spoilers. Anyway, but she's different from the rest of the Amazons, and they don't play off of that as much as I felt they should have.
They didn't really make it known.
Because they go right from there to Chris Pine crashing into the ocean. So, and that's in the trailers, by the way, so.
Yeah. And I will say, probably just to be safe from this point on, let's go ahead and put a spoiler warning on here, just in case. I don't want to ruin anything with this movie for anyone. But I know what you mean. Throughout the beginning of the movie, you see the Amazons and how they fight and how talented they are, and then you are brought to realization that she's the only kid on the island. Mm-hmm. So she's the only little girl, so something's different. And then she gets trained harder and harder and harder, and all of a sudden, boom, she's got these powers from her gauntlets. You don't really know where they came from. You don't know how she got those powers or why in particular she's different. She has power from Zeus, but they didn't really talk about that a whole lot. I mean, when she was in bed with her mom, and her mom mentioned that she was, breathed alive by Zeus and sculpted out of clay, but that's really about it. And it kind of goes pretty quickly into, for kind of take a step away from the mythical, now Chris Pine is here, and now Germany is attacking, and now she wants to leave and go to war. So it left a lot to be desired back on Themyscira, and I think, I was fascinated, and I think there'd be a lot of really cool things to dive into when they're on Themyscira. But it was very quick to get her out into the world, I think.
Yeah.
I think it would be a safe assumption.
Yeah, they were really pushing to get her out. I kind of wonder, because you told me that in the pre-screening there were some people who said there was pacing issues, so I kind of wonder if they spent more time on Themyscira before and then ultimately cut it down because people were complaining about the pacing, because how dare they take the time to set up a superhero in a superhero origin story.
Now, I will say this. I do know that some of the complaints I heard personally about Man of Steel was it seemed like there was too much attention drawn to Krypton, which you haven't really seen before in any movie. And there was a lot of attention drawn to Krypton and Jor-El and the fight going on. And, I enjoyed all of that. I thought it was cool. And I wouldn't have personally been against seeing more. But there was just so much always being drawn back to that. And then with Kal-El and his dad and the ship and all of the history of Krypton stuff, some people thought pacing issues. And they thought, it jumped around too much. We didn't need to, we want to see Superman be Superman. And they were setting up Man of Steel. They were setting up who Kal-El was. Mm-hmm. And I guess in Wonder Woman, maybe that's what they were trying to do. And then ultimately cut it. I don't know. But I would have liked to see more of it.
Yeah.
I really would have.
Yeah, I think that's where I came from too. I wanted to see more of her on Themyscira, setting up her personality more. I kind of felt like they didn't know what they wanted to do with her personality. There were times where she was naive, and there's other times where she was like the smartest person in the room. Mm-hmm. And also, there was one scene where they were trying to show how strong and independent she was because she was, and rightfully so, she was calling a general out because he was willing to sacrifice a bunch of military people because, they're soldiers and they're meant to die. But you never see her take that kind of strong stance against her own people. And I feel like it would have been interesting if they would have showed her, I think it would have been better if she would have left without her mom's approval. Because that would have showed you that she was more independent. It's easy to smart off to somebody you don't know, but when you're smart off to somebody who raised you, that's a different story altogether. And when you're calling them out when they're wrong, when you're calling somebody out who raised you and you're saying, hey, you're wrong on this issue, that shows you that you're stronger, and you're willing to do the right thing no matter what.
And, she didn't really smart off to her mom by any means.
No, she didn't. That's what I'm saying.
But she did stand up for... she did make it very clear that... her mom said that she knows that she can't stop her. She didn't give her blessing to leave. She said, and child, and I don't know what it exactly was, but you're my greatest joy, but now today you're my greatest sorrow. Because she's leaving. So there's obviously regret and remorse that she was leaving. She wasn't happy she was leaving. But she did make a good point about the world doesn't deserve you, and if you leave, you may never come back. And then she said, well, who will I be if I stay? So, there was some tension, but she definitely didn't stand up for it like she stood up against a general, obviously. Because I guess, it is easier to stand up to someone you don't know. Mm-hmm. Also, Wonder Woman compared to the average man, she kind of could kick their butt any day.
Oh, yeah.
So, I do get what you mean there. But I will say I really do like how she grew throughout the movie and how she came to realization about some things. And then, something I really liked in this movie, probably both of our favorite parts, is Chris Pine. And I really liked the character of Steve Trevor.
Mm-hmm. He showed off. Chris Pine showed off his acting chops in this movie.
He really did.
I almost want to say he stole the show.
Mm-hmm. And I really liked something that they almost achieved, and then they didn't for the sake of we have to introduce Ares as the bad guy. But there's a moment where after she kills Ludendorff, the men are still fighting. The men are still about to attack, and Chris Pine has this moment with her where he's like, maybe men aren't all good. Maybe it's just who we are. And I really liked that that's where they were going. Like, listen, there's not always, he says, I wish there was just one bad guy to blame, but there's not. It's men. Maybe I'm to blame too. I really liked that. I thought that was a really powerful moment. So,
really, that was one moment I kind of didn't care for. Right?
Really?
I could have checked out after that line.
I liked it because it kind of showed. Listen, you can't always just blame something on one person. Men do make mistakes. Men are ultimately capable of being this way, whether you like it or not. But so the fact that when Ares was killed, it was completely over, and they hinted that that's what was gonna happen, and it was sweet and everything. But ultimately, I guess I'm trying to be realistic with it, but I can't really do that in a Wonder Woman movie. But I liked that scene. I liked Steve Trevor through that whole last fight, and then the sacrifice and all of that.
I like that scene. I'm just saying, like, I liked how he decided he was going to keep fighting.
Yeah, no matter what.
To save people. That was a good scene. But just where he was like, well, maybe I'm to blame. I'm like, how are you to blame?
Yeah,
you didn't do a thing. You're the one
blame.
trying to stop people from dying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt like it should have been more like Samwise Gamgee, where he said there's still good in the world and it's worth fighting for. I feel like that would have been a better angle to go for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of focusing on all the bad people, focus on the good people and focus on fighting
Mm-hmm.
for them. And they could have even alluded to that where she protects the village earlier, like early on in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. She saves a village from German control, and like those people didn't have anything to do with the war. They didn't start the war. They didn't want to fight. You know.
But then she blamed Steve Trevor for that incident, and see, I was confused on that part because when she walks out of the fog and he's there, and she's like, "Because of you, I could have stopped this, but if it wasn't
she
for you
was
and
going
stuff
to
like
kill
Ludendorff, and she thought just by killing him that it would all be over then. But see, she was very naive throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, she came to kind of a realization. I don't know. It was interesting.
So, can you tell me how a pilot couldn't land the plane?
What do you mean?
Steve, he's up in the air, and instead of landing the plane and blowing it up, he decides to blow it up in the sky.
I don't really know, because I know they talked about it in the movie. Like, I don't know how
He just wanted heroic sacrifices,
Maybe. I don't know why he couldn't have just... I don't know. Ultimately, he played it safe. He did. But I don't know what about, flying around for a few more minutes, and then when the airport that he took off from was kind of cleared from debris, why not just land it, and then... I don't know. It made for a good... tear-jerking moment. I mean, I didn't cry, but I can see why people would have. It showed sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And if he didn't do it, Wonder Woman wouldn't have gotten that last to go, take on Ares.
Well, then he could have, rammed the plane into Ares, and it would have been a funny moment.
It would have been funny, but everyone in the area would have died.
Except for Wonder Woman.
Except for Wonder Woman. She would have lived. Oh, man. There's... Ultimately, as far as DC movies, I'm glad that this one left a lot of people satisfied. I'm glad critics enjoyed it. I've seen so many pictures of Wonder Woman carrying Batman and Superman. Like, all right, guys, we're still in this. I'm carrying you, but we're still. Ultimately, we both agreed we enjoyed Batman v Superman and Man of Steel more than we enjoyed Wonder Woman. That's not.
And you guys know I'm not even a big Batman or Superman fan, so. It's not my fanboy bias coming in here. I personally, I think I like Wonder Woman more than both of those heroes. But this was just an origin story, and I'm looking forward to seeing another movie with her that they don't have to do the origin story. I'm actually I'm looking forward to another Wonder Woman solo movie. I hope we get another one.
Patty Jenkins already signed on to direct a sequel.
And I would be fine with that. I'll end on some good notes here. I was excited that they didn't push, it wasn't overly preachy or overly, this is,
Right.
They could have fallen into some traps that some movies with, females have fallen into, where they feel like in order to have a strong female character, you have to demasculatize the men around her.
Yeah.
And she didn't do that, and I was really happy to see her not do that. She was strong in her own way, and she was vulnerable in certain areas. I liked how they kept her vulnerable. That was... because you can be both. You can be strong and vulnerable, and she showed her vulnerable side to Chris Pine at certain points, but she also showed her strong side, and I was really happy to see that they made her a well-rounded character instead of just, a boring, I'm better than everybody else person. So.
That's very fair. I didn't really even think about that, but they had every opportunity in the world to just preach, and they didn't. They really didn't. At the end they made a good point about how, it wasn't really preachy, but the point of the movie was, love. And that's really the only way to fight hatred is with love. And, a lot of people can take that for what it is, but it made a lot of good points. And it wasn't overly preachy. One of the things I was concerned about was I didn't want to sit down for a, super over-the-top feminist sort of we're better than men movie. I was worried. I wasn't really worried that that's what would happen, but I didn't want to get vibes like that. And they did such a great job of making her the perfect character, that she could have been. So they did a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in conclusion of our wordy rant here, not even a rant, just a wordy conversation. Yeah. I think we both really enjoyed the movie. Mm-hmm. I would recommend it. Like, I would highly recommend it, actually. It's a great movie. You know, don't go in there with thinking this is going to change the superhero genre or anything. But, I kind of hope we see some more female superheroes come out of this.
I really hope so, too. And I think DC, more so than Marvel, has such an opportunity to really go into that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, already you've seen, you know, last year, Halloween, every girl was Harley Quinn. This year's Halloween, every girl's going to be Wonder Woman.
Oh,
what's every girl going to be next, you know, just one after another. They have such the opportunity to make these strong female characters. I'm sure they will. I'm excited.
Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already.
Show us some love.
Remember, we're doing that competition. If we get 30 subscribers by the end of June, we will be chugging puke soda.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that. But we'll see. We'll see if we get there.
Also, please give this video a share because that helps us out.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys next time.